thing we are never short of is will be surprises. This year you were wondering probably, how come there's no program outside? You know, there always was something, musician, this, that. It's not outside. This year it's inside. And I'm thinking, if you know, there's a lot of talk about the burnout syndrome and the symptoms. And would anyone know what is the first symptom of burnout? Okay, I'll help you here, but the second one is yours. Loss of interest for sex, loss of libido. I'm not testing you on this, but you will get a test on the second characteristic, which is loss of sense of humor. Bravo. Doctors are people of many talents. We all know that. I'm sure there is at least one profession that each of you could do. At the Medical School of Ljubljana, we have several people who have academic diploma in music, and they are wavering, and we've had some that wavered in the music way. But we tonight would like to present somebody who will evoke, test your sense of humor, and this is our assistant, Žan Trontelj. Žan.
Nena, thank you. Thank you. So, this year's surprise Joker session will be presented by yours truly. Or at least I thought I was being offered that when I was approached by Vesna on behalf of the organizing committee. The whole exchange went something like this. She said, Žan, we thought it would be a great idea if you told some jokes. A Joker session, you say. Wow. No, more as a warm-up session. Warm-up? I don't need no warm-up. I'm not as big to require an opening act yet. No, Žan. As a short, funny skit. Say no more. And she didn't, sadly. Because for the next couple of months, I actually put together a whole lecture. My ego grew even beyond my imagination. I thought to myself, first, I got a paying job at the university. Second, I got to lead a group at the Bled course. That's still on, right? If not, you guys owe some apologies to the people who've been attending an online course. And then the almighty Joker session. Step aside, Professor Pratt, new sheriff is in town. And then, a couple of weeks ago, I got a preview of the program. Joker session was to be given by Igor, and not me. I quickly pointed out to the small mistake they made while copy-pasting the last year's program. I even wanted to give a short but informative speech of dangers of copy-paste practice. But I figured I would have time during the Joker session. And then Vesna hits me with this bombshell. She goes, Žan, looks like there was a misunderstanding. I said, duh, that's what I'm trying to convey. No, Žan, please listen to me and try doing a better job this time. You were asked to have a warm-up session. It hit me like a ton of bricks. All my dreams about the trajectory of my academic career shattered. Looks like I won't be the youngest dean of medicine. Which in turn means no naked anatomy, no drunk surgery, no passive-aggressive psychiatry. What do you think? How do you feel? You, it's always about you. It should exist. A small footnote here. Later I found out that drunk surgery actually exists and is being practiced all over the place, so looks like somebody has beaten me to a punch. Vesna, the darling that she is, saw me flashing my imaginary life in front of my eyes and decided not to risk the nervous breakdown of the youngest member of the faculty. And she kindly asked me what my Joker session was to be about. Comedy in medicine, I replied. She said, is it funny? It is to me. And she went, okay, I'll make you a deal. You turn this into a non-lecture and we'll put you in an evening program. Always the mediator, our wonderful Vesna. But I have to disappoint you all. This is a lecture. A real kind. with PowerPoint and all. Another thing I was asked and also kind of ignored was to keep things clean, you know, not to swear or touch any sensitive topics. So upon hearing this, my mind immediately jumped to George Carlin. For those of you who don't know him, he was an American comic, an author, an embodiment of everything that clean, polished, and politically correct. Sadly, he died in 2008, but he's considered to be one of the best who ever did it. He is to comedy what Dr. House is to medicine. Only funnier and real, of course. So because of all the cleanliness that needed to be involved, my mind immediately jumped to his 1972 monologue that got him arrested and echoed to the Supreme Court itself. And it was titled, 7 Words You Can Never Say on Television. And here they are, just blurry enough to satisfy the censors. Ooh, way too clear? But here they are. These are the 7 words you could actually get arrested for saying out loud. Let's start by examining them one by one. First, we have an S word, a P word, an F word, a C word, an M word, and a T word. Let's start with an S word. It's an S word that describes feces. They say that words are bad because we give them meaning and power by making them taboo. So let's start by destigmatizing the first one. Let's see, together, it's sort of an icebreaker, 5 minutes in, but I need your help here. All together now, please. Okay, nah, it's shit. But thank you for trying. I don't know why this is taboo, because after all, it is a bodily secretion, and as such, it kind of falls under our domain as doctors. Not only that, we've even developed a system to grade its quality. The almighty Bristol stool scale. That got me thinking, how desperate of a city must you be to agree to have a shit viscosity scale named after you?
That's where I went to medical school.
Oh, apparently so. Is anyone here from Bristol? Do you know what their second most known attraction is? Me neither, and I've looked into it. And one question, are they really that proud to be a part of the fecal nomenclature?
Definitely.
Could you imagine having a septic surgery conference right here in Bled, and they're revising different olfactory properties of septic discharges, and they want to name the newly found scale in the honor of the host city, the Bled discharge scale. I could see Paul or any other local participant jumping up and going, no. We have our own thing going on here. We have a castle. We have an island with a little church on it. This is really not the direction that our tourism promotes. Oh, shit. Yeah, that didn't happen. Looks like Bristol was lacking exposure and thought, any press is good press. And they're right, because if the whole GP in Slovenia thing doesn't work out, my fallback plan is to move to Bristol and open a proctology or a gastroenterology clinic and make the living out of the slogan alone. Bristol, we know our shit. The next word is a P word. And it is just that, P or piss, describing urine, another tabooed bodily fluid. And that got me thinking. Medicine has a funny way of dealing with kidney injuries. With any organ, with any other organ, we try to save and unburden it as much as possible. Just think about it. You got a broken foot, you get a cast, so you do not move it. You are advised to sit or lie down with your foot elevated for as much as possible. If you have to move, you get crutches. Anything to keep the foot at rest. Another example is a concussion. You are advised to rest in a dark room No reading, no watching TV, no talking or even thinking, anything. For the brain that's got a boo-boo to rest and recuperate. Not kidneys though. Going into acute kidney failure? Better load them up with fluids. Make the bastards work overtime for spazzing out on you. And I'm so glad you laughed at this joke. I tried telling this joke to a nephrologist friend of mine, and he gave me a physiological explanation why this was a bad joke. This is a bonus slide that I really did not plan on doing, but the opportunity presented itself and I had to take it. When I was searching images for the previous slide, I stumbled upon this headline. Please, can everyone stop drinking their own urine? It's really not very good for you. And I thought, really? That needs to be explicitly told on BBC. And inside this article, I found this tweet, this gem. Yoga teacher drinks own pee every morning and claims it's cured fibromyalgia and cured Kersnik. So much to comment here, but I chose just two things. First, yoga is sexy, even though this is disgusting. And second, somehow I do not doubt that drinking her urine helped with her fibromyalgia. The first F word of this presentation. And I'm going to use this tweet for making the case to reclassify fibromyalgia as an F diagnosis and not an M1. Yes. It even begins with the letter F. If we look at dirty words in general, we see that they're casually connected and sort of our business. If we look at the basic human form, we see that most of them are part of the digestive or genitourinary tract, and they all culminate in the final word, the fountain of life for our little ones, breasts, or tits in its forbidden form. Could you imagine the food source of our babies being considered dirty? I'm a father of 1.5-year-old with the second child on the way, and in the beginning, my partner was against breastfeeding in a public place. That is, until my daughter was hungry for the first time in the public place. From that day on, I dare anyone to approach us and tell us that it is inappropriate to breastfeed in a public place. And I'm not the one you should be worried about. When my daughter was hungry, my partner turned into a whole mama bear. And believe me, your best bet is to steer clear. So that got me thinking, what are the forbidden words in medicine? Which ones could we destigmatize today? Because we studied shit extensively, we'll start with the S word, scared. We all feel that sometimes, right? It's probably okay to feel that, as long as our patients don't notice. Scrutinized. This one is a bit harder to swallow, but still a valid option in our line of work. That's why a lot of times we feel sad. After all, we're only human. And we want to feel safe. Suicide. Before we dive down into this rabbit hole, a quick lesson in comedy. There's an unwritten rule in comedy that you are only allowed to joke about sensitive or touchy subject that you are a part of. That means that only gay people can make gay jokes, only people of different ethnicities or races can make racist jokes, and only women can make sexist jokes. Equality in the modern era. At this point, you're probably wondering why I brought up the topic of suicide. No worries, I'm fine. My mother, on the other hand, dead by her thoughts. And I know what you're thinking. This was supposed to be a comedy thing. Why is he talking about suicide and his dead mother? And you're right. Suicides are not funny, like haha funny. But there is some comedy in the whole situation. Not at the beginning, though. My mother committed suicide by hanging on Christmas Eve in 2013. And the next couple of months were devastating. First couple of days, nothing really, just shock. But when all the when the funeral and all the necessities were taken care of, the hard times set in. So that brings me to my next group of forbidden words in medicine. The C words: care, camaraderie, and yes, even comedy. The lasting impression of the following weeks after my mom's death was seeing a lot of my friends discussing the incident and finding out that a lot of my nearest and dearest had a close encounter with suicide. One of my best friends told me that his dad, in fact, died because of kidney failure, but what he didn't tell me before was that it was self-induced by deliberately taking too many pills. Another friend who I've known forever told me that I knew that her mother died when she was young, but what she didn't tell me before was that she actually committed suicide. All of a sudden, there was a suicide story coming out from most of my visitors. And one amazing, unexpected, impossible to properly explain thing happened over and over again. We always circled back to comedy. No matter who I was talking to, no matter who was my interlocutor, there always came a point where we stopped crying and started laughing and cracking jokes and looking at ourselves for being twisted and deviant, perverted and corrupt, for laughing at the kind of topics that we laughed at. It came to a point that I greeted my very dear friend of mine, who I've known forever, and I knew that she lost his dad to suicide by hanging when she was just a kid. And I greeted her with the sentence, "Are you here to tell me that your dad actually meant to kill himself and his hanging was not an accident?" With a smile on my face. And after some time and a bit of context, she started laughing as well. So this falls into the category of the next C word, coping mechanisms. And the first or the second F word in this presentation, if we count fibromyalgia, friendship. This is my proverbial wolf pack. These are the best friends I have in medicine. Christian is a psychiatrist, Andrei is an infectologist, Matei is a radiologist, and, well, this is me. This is us as in McDonald's after we returned from our trip to Ohrid, Macedonia, where we were on the best culinary trip of our lives. And we needed to lower our standards for cuisine, and what better way to do so than to go to eat at McDonald's. Even now, we get together every once in a while and discuss things going on with our lives. Obviously, a huge part of that is our work as doctors, and we share stories. Some of them are funny, some of them are hard to believe, but the most important ones are the sad ones. We became some sort of a spontaneous bonding group. I share the hardships of working in family medicine, the lives and the stories that have touched me. Christian tells us quite literally insane stories from the psych ward. Andrei discusses the burden of being in life and death situations on daily basis, and Matei, well, he likes to tag along and listen to our stories. If not anything else, just to remind himself why he's the smartest of one of us for choosing radiology. The next word I got from Jona, and it's one of my favorites, the forbidden conversations. If any other non-medical person were to listen to our stories without the proper context and the experience of working in medical field, we would be labeled as sociopaths. How are these people able to laugh at these things? Don't they give psychiatric evaluations before handing out medical licenses? But the thing is, we're not crazy. For real, I've got a paper saying so. What this hypothetical outside listener fails to realize is that these conversations are the exact thing keeping us sane. Through talking and laughing at difficult situations, we come to heal from them. And the same is with me standing here and joking about my mom's suicide. Sure, it's the darkest thing that ever happened in my life, but me being able to stand here and make jokes about it means that I've come to terms with it and heal from it. Plus, no matter what anyone says, nobody can overrule my reason for not working on Christmas Eve, which in the long run is pretty great. Told you I would get some giggles out of you. Bad doctors. It also helps the fact that we know each other thoroughly and have a complete trust in one another. For example, they're all my patients in family practice. And I've came to each and every one of them when I needed them. Christian was huge in helping me deal with my mom's suicide. Andre is the only person alive that knows my exact sexual history. And Matei, when my dog got hit by a car and I needed a second opinion, he was my man. I'm just kidding, still haven't sent the CT scans to him. It also helps that we know our strengths and our weaknesses. For example, when Andre got his paper published on cryptogenic brain abscesses, he did not mind that my only comment was that it would make a great name for a heavy metal band. Could you hear it? Give it up for the cryptogenic brain abscesses! I will never forget how we brought each other to tears laughing at something truly, truly sad. We were discussing how elderly, terminally ill patients are not dying at home, mostly because the families were ill-equipped or unprepared to deal with something like this. And Andre, obviously being an infectologist, he was on the receiving end of a lot of these referrals. And it got me curious as a GP, what do people put down as a referring diagnosis? And you could see it weighted heavily on him because he went up. He said, I don't know, pneumonia, urinary tract infection, meningitis, all sorts of stupid shit. Why don't they just be truthful about it and put exitus in observation? And then the discharge note would say, the patient was admitted with a suspicion of impending exitus letalis, which we later confirmed. At this point, all of us were in tears. And those were the happy, laughing out loud tears that helped release something much, much darker. Yeah, I have to admit, I have to say something. It's not because he's a bad doctor. He's a really good doctor, but people are dying sometimes because they're old and fragile. You see, we're near the end of this show. Here, I would like to thank the organizers for having the faith in me and the complete lack of judgment that was needed to have the sad fate. I would like to thank you all for your time and attention, but before I finish this, I have to admit to something. I lied to you. Not about my mom. She's well dead, cremated, buried, no worries about that. The lie I told you about was that I was not asked to do this. I volunteered. Shocking, right? Žan volunteered to speak. The reason was partially to get this off my chest. But there are a lot of secondary reasons. In a year, I'll say that I had a stand-up at the 2022 EURACT Bled conference. In 3 years, I'll say that I was an invited speaker at the And in 5 years, I'll say that I headlined the Joker session at the 2022. Memories fade, but a couple of things will stay true from this evening on. First, there is comedy in medicine. Not also, but especially in difficult situations. Second is pretty cool, is that for a considerable amount of time, I talked about feces in a non-medical way, and the room full of professors listened to me. Third one is even better, is that I got a room full of well-mannered, educated people to say shit, or at least stool out loud, in the middle of a healthcare facility. But the last one is my favorite. All of you have to live with the fact that you laughed at the expense of the darkest thing that ever happened in my life. And I will forever be grateful for that. Thank you.